What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL Week 7. Yes, Week 7 Sunday slate. Got a lot of stuff to get into. A bunch of high totals, a lot of high scoring games, which can mean a lot of high scoring for the quarterbacks and a lot of high scoring that is expensive for the quarterbacks. So we're going to get into all of that. If you're new here, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on notification bell. All those things really help me out, help me grow. Had a lot of growth trying to get to 400 followers by Thanksgiving. That's what we're going for. 400 subscribers by Thanksgiving. So let's get it there. So make sure to leave that like or hit that subscribe button. If you want more of my content, you can always subscribe to my Patreon. I'll put the link in the description below. Just a lot of good stuff over there as well. But let's get into the quarterbacks, and we're going to start with $6,800. Deshaun Watson going up against the Green Bay Packers. When we go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be a positive spot for Deshaun Watson. He's got Will Ford, Brandon Cooks, and Randall Cobb. They're going to be going up against one of the probably the highest graded corner by PFF so far this year, Jair Alexander, then Kevin King and Chandon Sullivan. I don't know which one Jair is going to match up on. It's going to be a tough matchup for either one. I'd assume it's going to be Will Ford just because he's a better receiver this year, but he sometimes goes to the number 2 guy, so we'll see where he ends up matching up, but that's a tough spot. But it's really the only thing I'm too worried about on this defense. Darren Fells, tight end, going to go up against Chris Barnes, Ty Summers, and Orrin Burks. That is assuming Jordan Akins is out. Darren Fells has actually gotten some pretty good usage in the last few weeks. But that's going to be a positive matchup too. Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage are the 2 safeties, and that's going to be another positive matchup. And then when we go look at the overall offense versus defense, it's going to be positive. The line on this game is 57, and the Texans are not favored in this game. The Green Bay Packers have allowed only the 21st amount of points to quarterbacks on the year, but I'm not really too worried about that. Deshaun Watson playing from behind is a very, very good fantasy player, so he's definitely someone I want some exposure to. One of my favorite quarterbacks already going into the week. I don't know who Jair Alexander is going to match up on if you're trying to stack this game, so I would just have some exposure with Ford and some lineups without him as well, because I don't really know which one he's going to be on most of the game. He could move around too, so we'll see what happens, but that's going to be a tough matchup. He's pretty much shut down everyone that's come his way. I mean, Mike Evans had like 2 fantasy points last week against him, so that is a tough spot, but I don't think too much about that. I want to get Deshaun Watson. I want to get 1 or 2 of his receivers in lineups. I want to bring it back with Aaron Jones or Devontae Adams or even MVS if you really want to. Those are all really, really good spots, so that's definitely something to look for. Josh Allen going up against the New York Jets for $7,700. He's just got a great matchup. The Jets defense is just bad. It's just really, really bad. When we go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be positive for Josh Allen. The wide receivers are Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley going up against Pierre Desir, the cornerback, Lamar Jackson, and Brian Poole. That's going to be an overall positive matchup there as well. Those corners are not good. Tight end is going to be Tyler Kroft. Well, it was Tyler Kroft last week. We'll see if Dawson Knox plays or not, but I just have Kroft in. Tight end really isn't utilized too much in this offense, so that's nothing really to worry about too much. Bradley McDougald and Marcus May are the 2 safeties. That's going to be another positive matchup for Josh Allen. Overall, it's going to be a positive matchup. They are heavy favorites in this game. The line's only set at 46, though, so the one thing I will worry about with Josh Allen is I don't think this game really has a ton of shootout potential because it is the New York Jets. So the ceiling may not be as high for him as it is for some other guys. So he's more of like a maybe for me at this point. I just think it's worth noting that he's in such a good matchup. I feel like he's a safe play. Like, he's not going to kill you, but he just probably doesn't. I don't know if he has tournament winning upside this week. So maybe not the spot I really want to get to in GBPs. But if you're only playing like 1 or 2 lineups and you want to play Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack, I don't think it's going to hurt you by any means. It should probably do pretty solid. So yeah, Josh Allen definitely someone I like. Russell Wilson, the guy on the cover. I just haven't put Russell Wilson on a cover yet this year, so I was like, it's probably time to do that. He's like $8,000 though. That's expensive, man. Going against the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks stack's expensive this week, and you really have to pay for it. I'm not sure if I want to do it this week, but he is in a great spot against Arizona. When you go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup, it's going to be a positive spot for the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, David Moore, and Tyler Lockett in the slot are the wide receivers, and they have great matchups against Patrick Peterson, Drake Kirkpatrick, and Byron Murphy. It's a great. Him and the Falcons have just the best wide receiver matchups right now. So, I mean, Russell Wilson's just everything looks really good for him. Greg Olsen really not utilized in offense, so not really too worried there. Deontay Thompson and Budda Baker are the safeties. I mean, Budda Baker's a really good safety, but outside of that, really nothing to worry about. It is the best overall offense versus defensive matchup for me. The game total is set at 56 right now. They are favored. Arizona has only allowed 28th most points to quarterbacks this year, but this is Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett should torch that secondary. Should be nothing wrong there. It's just expensive. I would not go there in cash at all. That's not a spot I'm touching in cash whatsoever. But in tournaments, he definitely has upside to, win the whole thing. you're going to have to find some value other spots, but definitely Russell Wilson and either Lockett or Metcalf. If you want to go both, that's really killing your salary, but you can. It has tournament winning upside, so definitely like that. Matt Ryan going against the Detroit Lions at 6,700. We saw him have a massive game last week against Minnesota, and it's a very similar environment this time. I mean, in a dome, they're going to be playing. They're not favored in this game right now, and it's a bad defense. So, and Julio Jones is back, which is important for Matt Ryan. So it's very similar to the last game. So Matt Ryan, I think, should be in for another big day. When we go look at the offensive versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be a positive spot for Matt Ryan. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Gage are the three receivers. They're going to be going up against rookie Jeff Okudah, Amani Oruwari, and Darrell Roberts. That's assuming that Desmond Trufant misses again. If he plays, then he'll be the number 2 corner. I'd expect him more probably on Julio just because he's a bigger corner than Jeff Okudah. So I would look for that more. But overall, a really positive match for these wide receivers. This Detroit secondary is horrendous. It's so bad. Jeff Okudah has been terrible at the start of his career, and he's just had brutal matchup after brutal matchup. I mean, to be fair, but I mean, except last week he didn't really have one, but he still played bad. Hayden Hurst is the tight end going against Gerard Davis, Jamie Collins, and Reggie Ragland. That's actually going to be a tough matchup there. I mean, those are really good coverage linebackers. Hayden Hurst may not be someone to really get too involved in this week. Tracy Walker and Deron Harmon are going to be the 2 safeties. That's going to be another positive matchup. Overall, it's going to be a positive match for Matt Ryan. They're not favored in this game. Detroit's allowed the 11th most points to quarterbacks this year. So definitely a spot I like Matt Ryan stacks. We saw Julio go off last week. I love Matt Ryan. I love Julio. I love Ridley. It's pretty much the same thing every week of Atlanta. I'm probably not going to touch Russell Gage. Never really has a super high upside at like Ridley and Julio does. I mean, if you want to get to Hayden Hurst, that's fine. He's in a tough spot, but I think Hayden Hurst is still definitely viable in these stacks. Matthew Stafford on the other side of this game, facing off against Atlanta for only $6,500. Atlanta's defense is just bad. When we go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be a slightly positive spot for Detroit. Detroit's offense line is just really not that good, but Atlanta's defense line isn't either, so it's really not something to worry about. More of a neutral spot than anything. Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola are the wide receivers, and they're going to go against rookie A.J. Terrell, Kendall Sheffield, and Isaiah Oliver. It's going to be a really positive spot for the Detroit wide receivers. T.J. Hawkinson's the tight end, going to go up against Deion Jones, Michael Walker, and Foyesade Oluokun. When we look at that's going to be a positive matchup for Hawkinson too, although Hawkinson really hasn't been as involved as I would have liked him to be this year. Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen are the 2 safeties. That's going to be a positive matchup as well. Overall, this is a really good spot for Matthew Stafford. Atlanta's allowed the most points to quarterbacks all year long. I love this game, man. I'm going to just be stacking it each way. I'm going to be going Stafford to Golladay, Marvin Jones, bringing it back with Julio, or bringing it back with Ridley, or just the other way around. Ryan to Ridley and Julio, bringing it back with Golladay. They're kind of expensive stacks, but I think there's enough value at running back this week where it's definitely viable. So yeah, Stafford, definitely one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's probably my favorite cash quarterback at the moment. If I'm playing cash, I think Stafford's probably where I'm going to go with that. But Matt Ryan's fine for cash, so I think Deshaun Watson is very viable for cash as well. There's some other guys we'll talk to that are as well. So Matthew Stafford, definitely love the spot. I think he's in a great position to have a great game. Aaron Rodgers up next against the Houston Texans at 7K. David Bakhtiari got hurt last game, so we got to see if he's playing. If he's out, that's going to be a hit to that offensive line, but it's still Houston, so I'm really not too worried about it. Overall, offense versus defense line matchup is going to be positive. It's going to be positive without Bakhtiari in there anyway. Devontae Adams, MVS, and Darius Shepard are 3 wide receivers. They're going to be going up against Bradley Roby, Vernon Hargreaves, and Eric Murray. Bradley Roby's a tough matchup, but it's Devontae Adams is matchup proof, so I'm not really too worried there at all. Overall, positive matchup for the wide receivers. Robert Tonyan's the tight end, gets to go up against Zach Cunningham, has been terrible this year, and Tyrell Adams. It's going to be a positive spot for him. Eric Murray and Justin Reed are the 2 safeties. Overall, this is going to be it's overall positive matchup, 57 highest total game on the slate so far. That and the Atlanta game are just like neck and neck right now, and then honestly, and then Seattle game as well. So Aaron Rodgers looks like to be in a really good spot here. That Houston defense can't stop anybody. I love Aaron Rodgers stacks. Devontae Adams, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Robert Tonyan. If you want to throw in Aaron Jones, I don't even hate that as well. Houston's allowed the 13th most points to quarterbacks this year. We'll talk about Aaron Jones in the running back video after I record this. So he's a really good play too. But Aaron Rodgers looks really, really solid. This defense is just bad. This is a game I want to stack a ton. I want to just get so many stacks of this game. Both sides. I love the Rodgers to Adams stacks. I love Rodgers to Adams MVS stacks. Adams, Aaron Jones if you want to. There's just so many good stacks here after Green Bay Packers. They're going to be expensive because it's Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, it's Aaron Rodgers, but Like, it's worth it in my opinion. This game is probably going to shoot out. I'd say it's probably most likely 1-2 shootout. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers just looks like an absolute smash play. Ben Roethlisberger is kind of a sneakier one, and I don't think it's going to get a ton of ownership this week. Going up against Tennessee Titans. I think these next three quarterbacks, honestly, are all guys that I don't think are going to be as highly owned as guys we just talked about. When you look at the offense versus defensive line versus Tennessee, it is going to be a positive spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chase Claypool, James Washington, and Juju Smith-Schuster are wide receivers. We'll see if Deontay Johnson's back, but if he is, that probably just gets rid of James Washington. Probably moves Claypool to number 2, and Johnson sticks at 1. Juju stays in the slot. They're going to be going up against Malcolm Butler, Jonathan Joseph, and Christian Fulton. They're like not good corners. I mean, they're all right. It's going to be overall positive matchup. Eric Ebron's a tight end going against Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown. That's going to be a slightly positive spot. Kenny Vaccaro and Kevin Byard are safety. It's going to be another positive spot. Overall, it's a positive matchup for Ben Roethlisberger. These two teams are 5-0. They're both really good, but Tennessee's defense really has not been good this year. They've allowed the 5th most points to quarterbacks from one of the worst teams. They're a bad team against the run as well. It's just a spot where, I mean, the total's 51.5. They could score a lot of points. I think it's going to be a sneaky game. I don't think a lot of people are going to stack this game at all, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers stacks are going to be very, very viable. I mean, you can run back with A.J. Brown. You can run back with Derrick Henry, who no one's going to play either of those two this week because they're playing Pittsburgh, which that's a good reason not to play them, but they're going to be low-owned. This is the stack that I think is probably the sneakiest out of all of them on the slate, so definitely interested in Ben Roethlisberger. Gardner Minshew going against the LA Chargers, only $5,900 seems like a really good value for me. We go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup for him. It is going to be a really positive spot for him. I'm sorry, barely positive spot for him. These offensive lines, these two teams are just bad. DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, and Keelan Cole are the wide receivers, going to go up against Casey Hayward, Michael Davis, and Desmond King. That's actually a kind of tough matchup. Overall, it's still going to be positive, but those are pretty good corners. Tyler Eifert is a tight end, going to go up against Denzel Perryman, Kaiser White, and Kenneth Murray. That's going to be an overall positive matchup, but not by a lot. I mean, Tyler Eifert's really not that good, and Denzel Perryman's really good. So, Rayshawn Jenkins and Nasir Adderley are the two safeties. That's going to be a really positive spot for Gardner. Overall, it's going to be a really positive spot for Gardner Minshew. The Chargers allowed the 3rd most points to quarterbacks this year. Their defense really has not been that good. This game total is at 49.5. It's not that high, but it's two defenses that, like, look, Jacksonville's defense is bad. We all know that. We'll talk about that when we get to Herbert. But the Chargers isn't really as good, like, because they have been out without, like, Nick Bosa, now Joseph, Melvin Ingram. Like, they're down guys. I mean, Chris Harris Jr. is out for, I think, the year. They lost Drew Tranquill early. Like, they're down a lot. Derwin James hasn't played all year. Like, this defense was supposed to be really good coming into the year, but, like, they haven't been because they're all hurt. So, Gardner Minshew could be in for a spot that I don't think a lot of people are going to play. That could be really, really sneaky. And then Justin Herbert on the other side, I think probably won't be as sneaky because people know that Jacksonville just sucks everywhere on defense. He's only $6,400. When you look at the offense versus defense line matchup, it's actually going to be negative because the offensive line for for LA Chargers is horrible, but I'm really not too worried about it because that Jacksonville defensive line really isn't good either. Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton, and Keenan Allen are the wide receivers. They're going to be going up against TJ Henderson, Sidney Jones, and Trey Herndon. That's going to be overall positive spot there. Hunter Henry's a tight end, going to get Joe Schobert, Miles Jack, and Quincy Williams. That's going to be an overall positive spot as well. Josh Jones, Jared Wilson are the safeties, another really positive spot. The one thing I will say about the Chargers is Keenan Allen's questionable. He got hurt last week during the New Orleans Monday night game, but I think he should be okay. I mean, if Keenan Allen misses, like we saw Herbert have a big game with just Mike Williams. So I'm not really too worried about if Keenan Allen's out. It's not going to kill my Herbert. Anything I feel about Herbert, I think just Mike Williams stacks are better. And then it's a really cheap stack, and you can just stack up the running backs or high-end receivers on the slate. So we'll see what happens there. Jacksonville has allowed the 10th most points in the league to quarterbacks, 49.5 game total overall offensive versus defensive positive spot. They are favored in this game, so that's a little bit concerning, but not really too much. I don't think they're going to have that much of a run script. I really do like Justin Herbert. I think he's a really good quarterback. He offers you rushing upside as well, so definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. And then we'll close it out with Kyler Murray going up against Seattle, $7,100. I mean, he's number 1 fantasy quarterback so far this year. Not really that surprised. It just brings you a ton of rushing upside like Lamar Jackson did last year. So Kyler Murray's been looking really good for fantasy purposes. Hasn't really looked amazing real life wise, but passing wise especially. But as a fantasy guy, it's great. When you go look at the offense versus defensive line matchup, it is going to be positive. This is the most positive spot on the entire slate. The Seattle pass rush is just not good. They're a good run stopping defense, but pass rush has been bad for Seattle. So that's something that's really good for Kyler Murray. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and Larry Fitz are the wide receivers. Going to go up against Shaq Griffin, Quentin Dunbar, and Ugo Amadi. That's going to be overall a positive spot for them. I mean, it's kind of a tough spot, but I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is matchup proof. He's one of the best receivers I've ever seen play, so he not really too worried about that matchup at all. The one I'd probably be more worried about is Kirk, maybe with Quentin Dunbar or Shaq Griffin, whichever one he gets. I'd assume he probably gets more Shaq Griffin, and Dunbar goes more to Hopkins. He's a bigger corner, but regardless, those are the ones I'm be a little bit more worried about. They don't use a tight end in their offense. I don't really care. Ryan Neal and Quandre Diggs are the safeties. That's going to be a positive spot as well. Overall, the total offense versus defensive spot isn't as positive. That's mostly because of the tight end spot, but like tight end really isn't utilized, so I'm not really too worried about that. This line is 56 total line. They are not favored. They should be playing from behind. And Seattle's allowed the second most points to quarterbacks in the league. And now you have the highest scoring quarterback so far this year. I love Kyler Murray. I'm playing Kyler Murray stacks this week. I've already made that decision. DeAndre Hopkins looks great. Christian Kirk looks solid. I always like playing Andy Isabella. I don't really ever play Larry Fitzgerald because he just doesn't have any sort of upside, but I'll probably get some Isabella. That's probably it. Maybe Chase Edmonds. I mean, I think that's kind of sneaky with the pass catching upside he has, but if you really just want to do Kyler to Hopkins and run it back with like Metcalf, like I think that's good. Really, really expensive stack, but not a lot of people are probably going to do it because it is so expensive. Is Kyler, Hopkins, Lockett, and Metcalf. That's going to be really low owned because it's going to be so expensive. You're going to have to find some value at running back, but I can see the upside to it. So I think that's really all I got to say on these quarterbacks. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Got a lot of good information out of it. Be sure to check out my running back video. That should be up right now because I'm uploading them at the same time. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on the notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out Thursday Night Football video if it's before Thursday Night Football, obviously. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and win some money.